This is May 17th, Redevelopment Commission. Let's go through a roll call.
Cindy Canarney's here.
Deb Hutton here.
Deborah, you're on mute. Sorry.
Thanks. Sorry. Deborah Meyerson's here.
David Walter is here.
And Nick Kappas here. So let's just go right into reading of the minutes for May 3rd. Are there any comments or edits that need to be had? If not, entertain a motion for approval.
I so move.
Cindy Canarney. Go ahead. Second then.
We have a motion and a second. Let's go through roll call.
Cindy Canarney, yes.
Deb Hutton, yes.
Deborah Meyerson, yes.
David Walter, yes.
Nick Kappas, yes. Passes unanimously. Moving into the third item today, examination of claim registers for May 14th, 2021. Any comments? If not, I'll entertain a motion for approval.
This is David Walter. I'll move we approve claim registers.
Cindy Canarney seconds.
All right, we have a motion and a second. Let's go to roll call.
Cindy Canarney, yes.
Deb Hutton, yes.
Deborah Meyerson, yes.
David Walter, yes.
Nick Kappas, yes. Passes unanimously. On to the fourth item today, examination of payroll registers for May 7th, 2021. Any comments about this? If not, I'll entertain a motion for this as well.
Cindy Canarney makes a motion that we accept payroll registers as of May 7th, 2021.
This is David Walter. I'll second that motion.
All right, motion and second. Let's go to roll call.
Cindy Canarney, yes.
Deb Hutton, yes.
Deborah Meyerson, yes.
David Walter, yes.
Nick Kappas, yes. Passes unanimously. Man, we're on a roll, guys. So, all right, on to the fifth item today. We're going to go right into the report of officers and committees. We'll start off with a director's report. Director Zodi.
Thank you, Mr. President. Good evening, everyone, members of the Redevelopment Commission. The work's continuing in hand, doing our good stuff there. I will say that the agenda lays out a number of items that department staff have been working on tonight with neighborhood improvement grants. One of our affordable housing projects is on the agenda. The only other note I'll mention tonight, just for sort of cross-departmental purposes and as our oversight body, that our historic preservation program manager, Connor Hertrich, ended his service with us today. It's his last day before he moves back to Texas with his family. So we do have that position posted, and we'll be taking applications until May 25th. So we have a staff vacancy as of tomorrow. Connor did a great job for us. I want to thank him for all the good work he did for the city. So that's concludes my report, Mr. President. Thank you.
All right, thank you. And thank you to Connor for all of his hard work for the city. It's not an easy job, but appreciate it. Legal report.
I'll just briefly say, just to note for the record, that the Redevelopment Commission met in executive session just prior to this meeting at 4:30 via Zoom for the purposes of discussing various real property transactions that were on that document. As always, those conversations are confidential, as they do involve ongoing transactions, and we thank all the commissioners for being there and taking part in the conversation. Thank you. And I'm happy to answer any questions, of course, if the commissioners have.
Okay, thank you. Thanks, Larry. Treasurer's report.
Nothing to report. Happy to answer questions on any of the items as we move along.
All right. Thank you, Jeff. Hey, not hearing any. Moving on to business development updates. Alex?
So just two small things. One is I want to let you know that progress continues on the Economic Development Administration grant potential. And we had to submit a follow-up environmental study, which was submitted. And so we are now waiting to hear from him. So that's the next step there. There is an item on the agenda later on having to do with the Real America development down at 1730 South Walnut. I wanted to just mention to you that the Economic Development Commission approved a tax abatement for that property on Wednesday of last week. That will go to council on June 2nd, and then a confirmatory, assuming it passes, a confirmatory resolution will then be reviewed by council June 16th. So that's the schedule ahead for that particular property. That's all I have.
Is that is the proposal for a 10-year or a 5-year? What is it?
It's a schedule. It's a downward. So it starts at 100%, then it goes to 85, 60. So it makes its way down over 10 years to 5% at the end.
Okay. All right. And that obviously affects our property, right? That's why you're telling us. Because
Yeah, I mean, it is an
Yeah.
RDC owned property. Yeah.
Correct. Okay, thank you. All right. Any questions for Alex? Appreciate the report. All right, we're gonna go on to new business then. Starting off with resolution 21-23, approval of neighborhood improvement grant distribution. As the commission may know, this was on the agenda in the last meeting, but had to be pulled for purposes of open door laws. So they had their meeting, and so we're here to hear it again, or for the first time, I mean.
Okay, thank you very much. I'm Angela Van Roy, the Neighborhood Services Program Manager for HAND. And I have for you 7 grant applications that have been submitted and are being recommended to the RDC for approval of funding. I will just briefly go through these. We have the Bloomington Housing Authority Residents Council. They have proposed to add some sanitation services to their properties, which would include additional trash cans, receptacles for cigarette butts, and also pet waste. We are recommending, the Grant Council is recommending that they be funded in the amount of $5,019.16. Next, a proposal is from Evergreen Village Neighborhood. They are requesting funds for a neighborhood entrance sign, as well as some educational signs around their property. We are recommending them to be funded at the amount of $1,107.60. The Near West Side Neighborhood Association has requested funds to paint murals on their 5 traffic calming circles within the neighborhood. That one is recommended for funding in the amount of $2,743. The Prospect Hill Neighborhood Association wrote a proposal to continue their support of the Rose Hill Cemetery by adding directional signs to the cemetery. And so that is recommended in the amount of $4,410. St. James Wood Neighborhood Association is proposing to do some landscaping at the entrance of their neighborhood, which happens to be in the right of way. It is city-owned property on Moores Pike. That one is recommended in the amount of $5,491.79. We have the Village of Ridgefield Homeowners Association. They are placing ADA compliant benches, 4 of them within the neighborhood. That one is recommended in the amount of $3,973.85. And then finally, we have the Woodlands Winding Brook Homeowners Association, and they will be replacing their neighborhood entrance signs, which were lost when the city did some construction of the walkway in front of their complex. And we are recommending them for funding in the amount of $4,254.60. Thank you.
If I may just briefly also before commissioner questions, I want to thank Angela for her excellent work on this. She was able to tackle this issue with the meeting and rehold it, and everything was organized and very smooth, and she did outstanding work. So just so the commission understands that Angela is doing really great work to administer this grant program.
I definitely would like to say that, hats off to Angela. She's incredibly organized and diligent, and certainly made my job as part of that group a lot more streamlined than probably it could have been. So I appreciate all your help, Angela, and certainly appreciate all the work that the neighborhoods put into their applications, the diligence, consideration, and passion, quite honestly, for their neighborhood. So I was really impressed with the whole process.
Thank you both. Thank you all.
All right. Thank you, everyone. Thank you, Angela, for the report. Any other commissioners have any questions or comments? No, I agree. This looks fantastic and well laid out. It's very easy for us to understand everything that's going on. So with
This is
that,
David Walter. I'd like to make a motion. We accept resolution 21-23.
Cindy Canardi seconds that.
all right, we have a motion and a second. Let's go to roll call.
Cindy Canardi, yes.
Deb Hutton, yes.
Deborah Meyerson, yes.
David Walter, yes.
Nick Kappas, yes, passes unanimously. Thank you very much, Angela, for all your work. All right, we're going to be moving on to the next resolution, 21-27, amendment to the Community Development Block Grant Agreement with Bloomington Housing Authority.
Hello, this
Who's
is
gonna
Matt
speak
Swinney.
to that? Oh, hey.
I'm here to answer any questions. They just had some issues with the architectural drawings that had to be fixed. And they also had an issue with the original architect was no longer there. So it took an extended amount of time to get the drawings corrected. So now they need a little additional time to go ahead and get the things done. So we just planned on extending it out a year just in case anything else creeps up and we don't have to do this process again.
And I presume there's no change in underlying costs or procedures about paying. Is that right?
Yeah, not on our end, no.
I've been on mute this whole time. Any other commissioners have any questions? So in addition to that, Deb's question, is there a view of substantial delay? Like, is this, I mean, we aren't incurring any additional costs, but how is this going to play out with the Community Development Block Grant Agreement? I mean, the money, it's not affected at all?
No, it didn't affect it at all. They really only needed probably at most another 2 months. So it won't affect any deadlines or of any sort.
Okay. All right. Anyone from the, anything else from the other commissioners? If not, anyone from the public wish to speak to this resolution? Not seeing anything or hearing anything, I entertain a motion for resolution 21-27.
Cindy
This is David
Canardi,
Walter. I'll make a motion. We accept resolution 21-27.
Cindy Canardi seconds.
We have a motion and a second. Thank you both. And we'll go to roll call.
Cindy Canardi, yes.
Deb Hutton, yes.
Deborah Meyerson, yes.
David Walter, yes.
Nick Kappas, yes, passes unanimously. All right, moving forward to resolution 21-28. And that is the approval of funding for construction of Cascades Park Trail Phase 5.
Good evening, Commission members. My name is Tim Streets. I am the relatively new Operations Director for Bloomington Parks, having started in January, taking over for Dave Williams, who certainly left big shoes to fill. Thank you for entertaining this tonight. I'm here seeking approval for funding in the amount of $300,000 for the Cascades Trail Phase 5 and Stream Bank Stabilization Project. This project, as I understand it, the Cascades phased trails have been seen by the Redevelopment Commission in the past. So this funding is to assist with Phase 5. Phase 5 is meant to provide trail connectivity from Clubhouse Drive in Cascades Park south to Miller Showers eventually. So this project is taking on a quarter-mile section of trail there, as well as installing an accessible boardwalk up to the waterfall shelter with a viewing platform and trail roundabout at the base of that. It was also addressing some of the worst erosion in Cascades Park along the western bank, so that is the bank opposite of the road, particularly from the gravel area that people informally know as the waterfall parking lots, up north to the main pedestrian bridge that connects the south end of the playground over to the waterfall shelter. The main goals of this project are to increase connectivity, accessibility, as well as safety by repairing some of the eroded areas. And I'm happy to entertain questions, and I have some visuals if you all would like to see them.
All right, thank you. Appreciate that. Any questions by the commissioners?
I'll ask one.
Sure.
Tim, since the RDC is going to presumably provide $300,000 worth of the total of $1,800,000, et cetera, do we designate that our $300,000 goes toward any particular piece of the whole package, or we're putting $300,000 into the master pot and it's used for the entire plan?
That is a good question, and one that I might defer to Mr. Underwood on. In terms of the overall project, yes, the cost is $1.8 million. We have 1.5 of that identified through both bicentennial and general obligation bonds. Specifically, one of the reasons we wanted to approach the RDC with this was we had a bid submission that was over the budget and had value engineered this project to the point where we thought feasible and still wanted to continue. So the $300,000 would certainly be to help us make sure the project does go in a timely fashion, as the bid market seems wildly unpredictable right now, and bids continue to come in high on other city projects, I know. Yep. As well as making sure we did not value engineer the accessible boardwalk out of there, which we want to get done to improve that accessibility as a main feature.
Okay, thank you.
Yeah, so I'll jump in. Yeah, it basically, this is a funding arrangement. So we essentially, the RDC is contributing towards the entire cost of the project. So it's in or serving a TIF, so we're in good shape.
Thank you very much.
Can I just ask a question as well? So what's the risk of delaying this project? I'm guessing additional erosion and could drive the cost up versus doing it now.
Absolutely. We did consider, what a rebid could look like in this market. We've seen prices continue to go up and are worried that would be the case. We also have some time-sensitive funds wrapped up in the general obligation bonds that we could risk losing access to and losing out on about $500,000 that would otherwise be earmarked for this project.
Thank you.
Who's managing all of the different, we have 115 new trees, your incorporation of limestone. Who's managing all that? Is Parks managing all of that, or do we have a GC?
So yes, we have an engineer on the project, Eagle Ridge Engineering, that has done a lot of civil works and other works for the city. They were retained in 2019, I believe, and have worked even before that on the different phases of the Cascades Trail. So they were responsible for the design. We have a GC contract with Scenic Construction, which is a company based out of central Indiana to do that. And we have a pending construction inspection contract with Rundell Ernstberger to inspect the work to make sure it's all done to spec. Those would be, along with potential approval here this evening, presented at Park Board on Thursday evening. And so the project is really contingent on both tonight and on Thursday night.
So is there any Parks representative that is part of the oversight or no?
Yes, myself, I would be part of, overseeing this project as it progresses and representing the city's interests in the project.
Okay. All right.
Just wondering, this is phase 5. What's the total scope of the overall Cascades Park Trail project? Of how many phases is it anticipated to be, and what the total project budget is estimated to be? Again, I understand that things change over time. And then if it's anticipated, what general portion the RDC is kind of in for it? Just trying to get a sense of the bigger picture of the project beyond the phase.
Yes, that is a great question, and I am going to try to share my screen if I'm able, because I can show you the different phases as they were laid out. Bear with me one moment. See if I can make this happy. My apologies, it's asking me for additional permission. Well, it's not going to work for me right now, but that's okay. I can answer your question. So phase one was completed in 2012, and that ran from basically the old monastery up north to North Walnuts. So that was the side path completed there. Phase two was completed in 2014. That goes through the Cascades Golf Course and down Clubhouse Drive to connect where Clubhouse meets Cascades, Old 37. And then phase three, which was not TIF funded, was completed in 2016 and 17, and that connects east from Walnut over to the Griffey Dam and Spillway area. So there are two phases left before it got standing. Phase four, which would connect farther northwest of the golf course up into neighborhoods, and phase five, which connects south from Clubhouse and Cascades down to Miller Showers. As we talk about further action on phase five, the path and the exact method of connection is yet undetermined. Part of that is wrapped up in, thank you very, very much. That is exactly what I was trying to share. Part of that is wrapped up in the road pilot closure, which is ongoing through the month of June in Cascades. And at the conclusion of that, we will go back and look at how to finish the connections. So as yet, the exact route is undetermined and funding sources somewhat undetermined as well, though we do have some money left in a bicentennial bond for this project.
Okay, well, any other questions by commissioners?
Just one other quick question. You mentioned the
Sure.
accessibility on the boardwalk, or if I might be calling it the wrong thing, but with the closure of the section of Cascades, am I envisioning, isn't that accessibility in the same part of where the road's closed?
So yeah, we're having a lot of conversations about this through the road pilot closure right now. So just to be clear on accessibility, with what we are doing with this project, you would be able to go down into the park and park at the Sycamore parking lot, and there would be an accessible 8-foot paved trail all the way to the south to where the waterfall shelter currently is. And then there would be a boardwalk picking up from there, running about a little over 700 feet up to the waterfall. And so that's something we're really excited about, is improving that accessibility. The road pilot would not affect accessible access to this trail. The accessible access from this trail is from the parking area currently, or via the pedestrian bridge that comes across from the playground. So the decisions about the road pilot closure will affect how we approach stream bank stabilization, for erosion control, and pedestrian bike access farther to the south.
Okay,
So to
thank
tap
you.
into Deborah's question, what would, if someone drove a car into the parking lot, but then had to go along on the new trail to the boardwalk? I think you mentioned the boardwalk to the shelter is 700 feet. What's the total distance from, say, getting out of a car with a wheelchair or a walker and getting all the way to the waterfall shelter? What's the total distance that they would have to traverse to get to the shelter, waterfalls and the shelter?
Sure. So it would be basically about a little under a quarter mile to get to the base of the boardwalk, and then the 700 feet.
Wow, that seems completely impossible for lots of people. Way too far. I mean, I can't imagine someone with a walker, prosthetic set of legs, or pushing a wheelchair in their own wheelchair to do all that distance. A quarter mile seems extended, but that's just a personal comment.
Sure, understood.
Just to clarify, so what's their opportunity to do that now? Zero?
Correct. Currently, if you've ever been on the trail up to the waterfall. It's very rugged, dirt, lots of tree roots, things like that through that area. So we are making a vast improvement in the accessibility, as well as the trail that runs south from the parking lot does not even make it all the way to the waterfall shelter. It runs into grass before it gets there. So that's a big part of the improvement. Definitely understand the concerns about distance. And as we move farther to the south, that may be something that we're able to take on as determinations with the road pilot closure are made. Unfortunately, the closest parking lot is gravel right now, which is also not accessible and is accessed via the spillway down there, which has other safety concerns with it as well. But as we shift project focus farther to the south, those are definitely things that we can look at.
Is there ever consultation on accessibility questions with the Committee on Community Accessibility? Just because I know that they're a really good resource. They're having a pedestrian transportation mobility conference coming up next month. Anyway, just wondering in terms of what communications there are with them for consultation on these kind of questions.
Yes, we've talked with Michael Shermis about both Cascades in general right now as part of everything going on down there, as well as this project, and have told him about the plans for this accessible boardwalk, and it will meet all ADA requirements in terms of rise over run, resting platforms, everything like that. And as well as, we're looking at, some potential seating options along the way.
All right, great questions, everyone. I'm going to open this up to the public if they have any questions or comments. Not seeing any in the chat box. Any additional comments or questions by commissioners? If not, I'll entertain a motion for this resolution. This resolution.
Mr. President, it looked like a representative from the B Squared Beacon had their hand raised.
Oh,
to make a
great.
comment.
Okay. How would you, Larry, how would you?
Good afternoon.
Yeah, he's free to make a comment. Yeah.
Great. Go ahead.
Good afternoon. Can you hear me?
Yes.
Okay, thanks. Well, first of all, I was not quick enough on the draw for the earlier item, and I hope that President Kappas might indulge me in listening to my thanks to the Neighborhood Grant Council for their redo of the meeting, because it was a fantastic redo. I've seen sometimes public bodies do a redo because of open meetings issues, and it's sort of a perfunctory 30-second deal where they sort of gather and affirm that what they already did that they agreed with, and they go home. That was not the case at all. The public, I think, was really well served by the thorough treatment that that issue got, going through each of the proposals. The scoring criteria, I think the public got a clear idea of how that scored. People talked about which one was their favorite project. In the end, I think it was a real win for the city of Bloomington. So on to this item. I had a couple of questions. So it looks like that there's more than 1,000 feet of stream bank that's supposed to be stabilized. And that was reduced by the two bid alternates to roughly 440 feet. So when it comes time to stabilize the rest of the stream bank, does the city have money to do that, and where will it come from? And then the second question, the $300,000 of TIF that's being authorized with today's action, it's described as coming from the North Kinser Pike TIF. So isn't that district already a part of the consolidated TIF area? And if so, why isn't this just described as consolidated TIF money? Or is this just like, do you really maintain the accounting still on other separate districts, even though it's a consolidated district? Thanks, those are my two questions.
Thank you. Thank you for those questions.
Jeff, just before you jump in, just a second, just so everybody's aware. So the way these public comment periods work usually in public meetings is the board can accept public comment. Typically these questions are rhetorical. They can't be posed to staff members just in terms of that. We've obviously made it a policy of the RDC to answer these questions. We're happy to do so at the board's discretion. I just want to be clear about how we normally operate. These are usually comment periods as opposed to direct question periods. And I thank Dave. I mean, we obviously work with Mr. Askins all the time, B-Squared Beacon, trying to answer his questions. So real quick, then Jeff, I'm sure you want to jump in for the second question first. And
Yes.
sorry, I interrupted you.
Yeah, that's fine. No, thank you, Larry. You should have. Sometimes I jump in too quick. Just for the newer members, at one time we had a number of individual TIFs with extended TIFs. And back in 2016, 17, I believe, due to a change in the state law, we consolidated all of the TIFs but one and expanded them. We did not have enough contiguity to reach all, nor did we want to reach all the way out to the Prow Road TIF, which was established back when Cook was building their campus out there, and asked us to do that, which we were happy to do. Obviously, it's not developed as we thought. However, it is still bringing in some revenues. So this particular project has been funded primarily out of that TIF. The expanded TIF goes down and does get the Miller Showers Park as well. I think it actually is on the south end, 17th Street, but we did not go all the way out to consolidate. So we have technically two TIFs, the consolidated TIF and Prow Road. Now we do track expenditures and revenues by all of the former areas that were in there, but all those revenues either go into the consolidated or the Prow. So happy to follow up with any questions on that.
Thanks, Jeff. And I think in light of Larry's comments, if B-Squared Beacon has any additional questions, I'm sure Dave knows how to reach out to you if there's additional questions on that.
Yes, and
but
my point was if any of the newer commissioners had questions. So
yeah, I think that was really good because I think a lot of individuals believe we just have one consolidated district, but in fact we've got two, not necessarily consolidated, but we have consolidated and then North Kinser Prow. So thank you for that. All right. And then I think for the other question, I think the staff can get back to Mr. Askins with his question on that concerning the amount of stability for the stream bank.
I'm sorry, to be clear, were you wanting me to address that now, or were you wanting me to address
No, you can address, if you would be so inclined to address that after the meeting with him, that'd be fantastic.
Of course, happy to email you, Dave. Okay.
Not seeing any other hands raised, unless Larry, you see any. I will go ahead and entertain a motion for resolution 21-28.
This is David Walter. I'll make a motion to accept resolution 21-28.
Deb Hutton seconds.
Okay, we have a motion and a second. We'll go to roll call.
Cindy Canarney, yes.
Deb Hutton, yes.
Deborah Meyerson, yes.
David Walter, yes.
Nick Kappas, yes. All right, unanimous. It's approved unanimously. Excuse me. All right, moving on to resolution 21-29, addendum to extend purchase agreement for 1730 South Walnut Street with Real America LLC. I believe, who's going to be speaking to that? Is that going to be Alex?
Mr. Zodi, would you like to discuss this briefly and your conversations with Real America, or I'm happy to if you'd like me to.
Sure. Larry may ask you for some backup here, but as everyone knows, 1730 South Walnut is the now the Retreat at Switchyard Park affordable housing project. It's a 64 unit building that's going to be breaking ground later this year. 48 of those units will be a mixed bedroom of affordable housing units. So as Mr. Crowley mentioned, the Economic Development Commission approved a tax abatement for this project last week. As part of the conveyance of the property, we had an agreement signed last June, so that the Real America, who is the developer on the project, has asked for an extension of that for 90 days. So as they get financing and other project logistics together. And so the proposal here is to, I believe, extend that until the beginning of September of this year. And Larry, ask you for any additional comment on the legal side there, and happy to take any questions.
Yeah, I just know that we don't anticipate them needing the entire 90 days. I mean, except for maybe the government use approvals, because that'll involve it going before the Plan Commission and approvals of that. What we'd anticipated in the original agreement is that it was 1 year from the date of execution, which was from the RDC's point of view, is executed June 9th, 2020, and September 10th is approximately 90 days after that. So we didn't think that that did any harm to the agreement. This is conditions precedent, and then we would schedule closing in accordance with the agreement within 45 days after they obtain their financing and governmental approvals, and the city staff has signed off and verified those.
Okay. Any questions by commissioners? Or any comments? All right. Any comments by the public regarding resolution 21-29? I'm gonna assume that the hand raised by V Square Beacon is still left over from the last one. So let's go ahead and I will entertain a motion for resolution 21-29.
This is Deborah Meyerson. I'll make a motion to approve resolution 21-29.
Cindy Canarney seconds.
All right, we have a motion and a second. I do want to say that, you know, this is the extension is a great idea. This is a great project. We've been working on this since I joined a year and a half ago, or actually probably a year ago. So another 90 days, I think we'll be able to get this done. So let's go ahead and go to roll call.
Cindy Canarney, yes.
Deb Hutton, yes.
Deborah Meyerson, yes.
David Walter, yes.
Nick Kappas, yes. Resolution 21-29 is approved unanimously. And sorry about this, everyone. Oh, there it is. And then moving on to resolution 21-30, which is the approval of payment to add insurance coverage for the Trades District parking garage.
So I can speak to this one briefly. So one of the conditions of finishing up the Trades District and getting near final completion, and now that we have just the punch list to go in terms of correcting it to open up the garage, is that the risk transfers over from the construction manager as constructor to the city of Bloomington. And so to do that, we had to put this on our general liability insurance rolls with Highland Insurance. The cost to do that was $10,860 for this year. And this will only be an expense that we anticipate seeing this year. Next year, this will be folded into the general city budget. But because this is a midstream thing and we have to add the garage to make sure that we're covered and everybody who's in the garage is covered and we have our liabilities covered, this is a necessary step, and it makes sense for the RDC to fund this as it's your project and you own the bonds for it. I'm sorry, I'm happy to take any questions. I wasn't sure. Someone was jumping in there.
Sounds like a very thing to do.
Yeah, I agree. The one thing I do not see, Larry, though, is, so we're just folding it into the GL that the city already has. So it's going to have the same We're just essentially adding a location into the policy.
That's exactly right. Yep.
Okay.
And so it does incur an extra cost as an additional property that's covered, but it's the same terms and conditions as every other building in the city of Bloomington.
Okay. All right. Any comments or questions by commission? If not, any comments by public? Paying insurance is a great thing. All right. With that, with not hearing anything, I will entertain a motion on resolution 21-30.
So moved by Deb Hutton.
Deborah Meyerson, second.
Okay, we have a motion and a second. I'm gonna go ahead and go to roll call.
Cindy Canarney, yes.
Deb Hutton, yes.
Deborah Meyerson, yes.
Nick Kappas, yes. Dave, you might have said something.
David Walter, yes.
There we go. With that, unanimously approved. That is the last new business of today. So we're gonna move on to the next item in our agenda, which is business general discussion. Anything for the good of the order? No, hearing nothing. I think this was a great meeting, everyone. These are just, business, but you know what? Keeps it moving. So thank you everyone for your hard work this past 2 weeks, getting all this on the agenda. And with that, I'd entertain a motion for adjournment.
That's David Walter. I move we adjourn.
I think there was a second in there, and we'll go ahead and accept that. Meeting's adjourned.
Good night.
Thanks, everyone.